energy is the most important building block for life. And for instance, when you don't have any energy, you can't really do anything. You can't have a career, you can't be happy, you end up diseased and ill, which is what happened to me. And the opposite of that is when you have abundant energy, you have like a super lightning quick mind, you're much happier, you're able to flourish in your career. And in short, you know, the happiest, most successful people have abundant energy for life.
Everybody knows that we get energy from food, but really, when you think about it from a fundamental point of view, food is just electrons and movement of electrons. And it's electrons flowing through a chain that cause the release of energy in the body.
If you think about how food gives you energy, it gives you electrical energy. And a lot of people say, what, electricity? Like, I'm not a battery. Well, parts of you kind of are like that. Because what happens is you eat food and glucose or fat or protein, these things eventually, we hope, unless they're stored as fat or excreted, they turn into ATP, which is the primary thing that the mitochondria in our cells use. So they generate ATP, they use ATP to get an electron. That would be electrical. And once they generate that electron that fuels the cell, then they recycle ATP through a process in humans that's kind of like what most people know happens in plants with photosynthesis. The body is neither chemical nor electrical, it's both. And if you don't believe me, then walk into a taser and see what happens. Like, we know if you put a strong shock on someone, something happens. We measure the flow of electrons across nerves. It's called a nerve conductance study. So we know we're electrical. We just like to think that we're chemical. And that's a broken model, because you can affect the electricity with chemicals and you can affect chemicals with electricity.
And so if we start to think about energy more in terms of electron transfer, then we begin to see that there are other ways that we can get energy into our body.
There are all these other ways that you can increase the electron flow in your body. So, for instance, just like a plant does photosynthesis, you can use light to create electrons in your body through structured water.
There's one source of energy that comes from light. We have direct evidence that the light produces energy.
If you're not taking into consideration your body's charge based on the amount of light that you are getting, the amount of light that you aren't getting, or even the type of light that you're getting, blue light versus red light versus sunlight, then what that means is that all of your efforts to eat a healthy diet, they're for naught unless your body is actually charged properly.
You can also do things like grounding, where electrons are coming up through the earth and through your feet. But also, of course, how your biochemistry is really, really important for the flow of electrons, because if you have a healthy internal mineralized sea, then you'll get a very healthy flow of electrons through your body.
The most crucial thing for our health and for getting and maintaining energy in the body is being in the correct environment.
When you change the environment around you or the environment inside you, your biology responds. You don't will your biology to do something. You give your biology a signal, and the signal your biology listens to isn't what you want. It listens to what the environment tells it. So I consciously manipulate the inputs to my body so that it will behave itself. And when it does that, it unleashes a huge amount of willpower and energy.
And from my perspective, the environment is at least as important, or perhaps more important, than the food you actually ingest. And I know in my own case, when I was trying to get better from chronic fatigue, I'd followed a really, really strict, super healthy diet for years and years, yet I was still ill. But the moment I actually changed my environment, started changing my relationships started changing. In fact, where I lived, some of the activities that I was doing, making sure that I was getting out in the sun and like doing activities where I was connected to Earth's electrons. The moment I started doing that, my energy levels started to soar, and my diet was consistently the same, both in the early stages of my illness and also when I changed my environment.
I changed my diet, and I changed the way I exercise. I changed the temperature of things around me. I changed the type of light that I'm exposed to, the time I sleep, the time I eat, the time I exercise. Those matter greatly because bottom line is my body is an amazing piece of equipment that is designed to survive in the environment around it. So it senses and responds to that environment. It doesn't sense and respond to what I want very well. So I'm going to stop using my willpower, wasting it on trying to make my body do things, and instead say, this is the lever, this is the trigger, this is the switch I can throw that will make my body listen and respond.